Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We are taking the EZA transforming cooler into the final stage of the Wicked Bloodline edition of Red Zone against Metal Cooler Core. Tested him out again, probably what I would consider maybe a harder stage than a Mega Shenron. I don't know, a Mega Shenron has the gimmicks, but for the most part it's relatively easy for a lot of teams to get past the first phase. Final phase has a KO super, which is obviously guaranteed death, but as long as you kill him quick enough, or double Whis, or, you know, any other things you can do like revivals and stuff, you can avoid it. And Metal Cooler Core, he hits very hard. He hits very hard. You know, this phase lowers defense on super, can super attack twice. You can't beat it, you just have to survive 3 turns and 9 charges. And then the final phase, as I said, hits very hard. So, I don't know, all I know is it's one of the newest final stages we have. It's up there in terms of difficulty. So why not, you know, use it as an extra test for some of the better units in the game to see how they really do across the board in Red Zone. You know, back in the day during school, during science, it's always test things 3 times to get a fair result. Now we have a third event to be doing that in. I know there's Cell Max, but there's only a few units in the game that can actually attempt to even beat it. So I'm not going to include that for everyone. And I only take the best and the best and know that could probably actually beat that stage and actually do videos on it. So I think I'm going to start taking units into this stage as well, and maybe even revisit some units like Birdcoo, etc. and see how they do here. You know. So yeah, definitely let me know if that's a good idea, but I think I may just do it anyway. I'm not going to lie. Seems like a good idea, but don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you are new. As you're seeing here, first phase, I think he super attacked twice. He's already tanking double digits against the Metal Cooler army, which, to be fair, isn't too difficult considering their basic attacks don't do too much. It's their supers that are like just over 600k and also lowering defense. So he was tanking really well there. And of course, him having built-in additionals, considering this isn't the longest of Red Zone stages, you can actually lower the cooler army's attack and defense. So getting that built-in additional off to get the 30% chance to launch a super attack for having the enemy in attack or defense down status is possible here. So any extra additionals are obviously 100% welcome because, you know, as I said, it's not the longest Red Zone stage. So any additional is going to be key into getting his defense up to where you need it a lot quicker by the time you get into the final phase, including, of course, if you have dupes. And then don't forget as well, the final phase is Fizz, where he does have type advantage. So you don't have to stack him up too much, and you can kind of focus on damage. But as I said, considering you can lower the attack and defense of the Metal Cooler army, it does help you kind of build up your defense a bit quicker in a shorter Red Zone stage. So that is nice. He tanks really well there, considering you have to survive. It's handy that he can tank very well pretty quickly, even though he's a unit that needs to actually take time and stack. So he's on 300k immediately. Annoyingly, he was sealed here. So I couldn't even do extra damage. I couldn't even stack up an extra time. You know, it is what it is. You know, Metal Cooler Core also has his gimmicks. The ceiling can be very frustrating and can catch you off guard. So, you know, going back to my original point, maybe he's kind of a little bit more difficult compared to Omega, but I don't know. I haven't attempted it enough times to really consider which one I find more difficult. But Metal Cooler Core is still definitely up there. 80k on a basic while having type advantage with only 300k defense, to me, is still okay. I know he has type advantage, but considering 300k defense against Metal Cooler army, who does a lot, and I mean a lot of damage, in terms of on basics, I know on super it's like 1.6 mil. On basics, Metal Cooler Core does 430k on a basic. So tanking that for 80k, even though he has type advantage, but didn't get to stack up at all this turn, I still found that relatively decent. A lot of other units in the game on a basic there, who don't have guard and damage reduction, would have taken a hell of a lot more. Of course, we've been utilizing his support for the 2 phases as well for a little bit, which I do find very handy. It's very good. Of course, since we're only facing one enemy, it's the Terrifying Conquerors one, so the Janembas miss out. If we were facing 2, I mean, it still wouldn't do much, but extra defense on units that have guard and are there to tank helps them tank a little bit more. It's not making too much of an impact, but as I said, it just helps them tank that little bit extra. But unfortunately here, we're not really making the most of it. Of course, it's helping for units like LR Metal Cooler do more damage, him have extra defense before he supers, so he tanks better. Same with Final Form Cooler doing extra damage so you can get through it a bit quicker with a type advantage, especially with the amount of attacks he does, and also linking almost perfectly with him, and then giving him some extra defense. Not that he really needs it here, with the type advantage and the amount of additionals he can do. But then, when you consider some other units you can take here, like Tech Golden Freezer, who still has very good damage reduction, but doesn't have much as the AGL one. The extra defense would actually help out a little bit from the support for him to tank a little bit better. Just so obviously you just don't lose as much health. So the support does come in handy a lot of the time, but to be fair, it's mainly for LR Metal Cooler, not Metal Cooler, the LR Final Form Cooler doing extra damage, and just watching him and also the EZA transforming one just absolutely obliterate the Metal Cooler core while having type advantage. So I didn't actually stack his defense up anymore just because I knew we would probably get through this quite quickly. So I decided to transform him, and this is just where he runs wild. Like, Cool Amelia is running wild on you, brother. Like, he's going nuts. I had him next to Golden Freezer. That way, Golden Freezer can just sit in slot 1 and just tank everything. Of course, we now lose the support. He's linked up perfectly because Big Bad Boss is either level 9. Yes, level 9, or it's got to level 10 in the last few days. But either way, Big Bad Bosses should be active. Final Form Coolers are floating with him, which means he's doing the best he possibly can be. He's immediately transformed with a 6.2 million attack stat. Now he has the guaranteed additionals, which both have a 30% chance of launching becoming a super attack. And because he has type advantage and he's stacking up on every super he does, and this is why the additionals are so good to have. Because it means you know, it's very similar to the LR Final Form Cooler, except because he's not an LR and he just stacks on his 12 key because he only has the one super. Even though he didn't do it there, unfortunately, in an ideal scenario, the transforming cooler would have supered once, got that 4 mil crit, which is big damage. Like, we've already got Metal Cooler core pretty much down to half health almost. But big damage. If he got another additional super from the 2 built-in ones, that would have stacked up again. If he got another one, he would have stacked up again. Each super attack would have done even more and more damage. And then the potential of an additional coming from the dupe system. Of course, what happens then? He would have stacked up again and done even more damage to a type disadvantaged boss, and just absolutely obliterated him in that one turn. So this is why his additionals, while it didn't come off there, that's why his additionals are so valuable. Not only just here, I mean, obviously it makes it a lot easier here because he has type advantage and constantly stacking on every super attack he does. You know, it obviously means every single super is getting stronger and stronger in that one turn, and the amount of collected damage he does is generally ridiculous. But it also is going to help in other stages, of course, when he's type neutral, maybe even type disadvantage, where his super attacks are constantly getting stronger and stronger, and you know, you're facing a red zone boss where you need to get in and out as quick as possible and do as much damage as possible, especially next to LR Final Form Cooler who's doing the exact same thing. You know, having his super attack constantly get stronger and stronger, and the amount of damage he can do against a type neutral boss obviously plays into that idea of you're getting in and out and doing as much damage as you possibly can to beat the boss before you potentially die. So he is very, very good here. I mean, one obviously the major things is the fact he has type advantage. The fact he has type advantage means he's tanking very well. Even though we only stacked him up to 300k defense, of course he does have a little bit more because of course he goes from 130 attack and defense to 200%. So you don't really have to worry about him too much defensively here. I can imagine because we didn't stack him up too much, even though it's not the longest stage, he still would have taken a decent amount of damage on super here. But because of the type advantage, because he'd been stacking, and even if, of course, even more so if you like made him stack even more, he would have tanked even better here. But the important thing is, he probably wasn't going to die from a super. But here's him just popping off with the additionals. He didn't even get a crit, of course. Each rainbow key sphere is 10% chance to crit. He's got dupes in him. He's already done almost 8 billion damage off of 2 supers. 2 supers, and he had the possibility of doing 3, potentially 4 if the dupe system additional came off. He would have done over 10 million damage to the Metal Cooler core in one turn, which is crazy. But obviously the type advantage does help him a hell of a lot. He works really well with the Final Form Cooler, the LR, in terms of just obliterating this stage, especially while surrounded by so many good defensive units. You don't really have to worry, and it makes this stage quite easy, to be fair, or a lot easier than it actually is. But he done really well here. He absolutely annihilated it along with his his Big Daddy Cooler. And they just obliterated this. They obliterated this, but he is so good defensively. The support is amazing, even though you can't really utilize it too much here because you transform him quite quickly. Because of the type advantage, once you transform him and he's stacking up his attack the entire time, he obliterates Metal Cooler core. But do let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. And peace.